Have you ever met someone who could turn even the best day into a reason to complain? Someone who sees the world not as it is, but only through the cracks? Today's story is about such a man, and the unforgettable moment that finally opened his eyes. There was a man named Mr. Halim, a 47-year-old shop owner in a busy market district. People knew him for one thing. He complained about everything. If the weather was sunny, he'd grumble that it was too hot. If it rained, he'd snap that business would be slow. If a customer bought something, he'd mutter that they bargained too much. If no one came, he'd blame the economy. Every day, he stood behind his counter with a scowl carved onto his face, as if the world owed him something. His neighbors were tired, his customers avoided him, and even his own children kept their distance because they knew another lecture was waiting. But Mr. Halim didn't notice. In his mind, he wasn't complaining. He was just telling the truth. One afternoon, something unexpected happened. A frail, elderly man entered the shop. He wore worn-out sandals, a faded white shirt, and carried an old, trembling smile. "Good afternoon, my son," the old man greeted. Mr. Halim didn't bother to respond. He simply raised his chin and sighed loudly. The old man gently placed a small notebook on the counter. "I need a pen," he whispered. Halim rolled his eyes. "A pen? Cheapest one or expensive one? People like you always pick the cheapest anyway." The old man didn't react. He just smiled politely. After choosing a pen, he brought out a few neatly folded notes, their edges soft from age and careful use. But before he could count them, the notes slipped from his weak fingers and scattered onto the floor. Halim clicked his tongue loudly. "Oh great, now I have to wait for you to pick everything up. This is exactly what makes business slow." The shop fell silent. Other customers stared. Some in shock, others in pity. The old man didn't say a word. He simply bent down slowly, gathering the notes one by one, even though his hands trembled. Finally, he paid and turned to leave. But before he stepped out, he said something that froze the entire shop. The old man smiled, a kind, tired smile, and said, "My son, the world is not punishing you. It is only showing you the reflection of what you give to it." Halim frowned. "What is that supposed to mean?" The old man continued, "Every morning I wake up grateful that I can still walk, still breathe, still ask for help when I need it. But you have legs that run, hands that work, a shop full of blessings. Yet you live as if the world owes you joy." He paused and added softly, "You don't need a better life. You need a better perspective." Then he walked away. The entire shop remained silent. For the first time in years, Mr. Halim had nothing to say. That night, Halim couldn't sleep. The old man's words repeated in his mind like a quiet echo. "You don't need a better life. You need a better perspective." He thought about all the opportunities he had ignored, all the relationships he had ruined, all the joy he had pushed away, because he was too busy complaining. The next morning, people noticed something strange when they walked past his shop. The door was open earlier than usual, and Halim was smiling. Not a perfect smile. Not a forced one. Just lighter. When customers came, he greeted them. When something went wrong, he didn't explode. He simply breathed and moved on. Slowly, business improved. Neighbors began to approach him again. And his children, surprised but happy, began spending more time with him. People asked him what changed. He always gave the same answer. "I met a man who reminded me of what I forgot." That happiness is not a destination, but a decision. Weeks passed, and although Mr. Halim was changing, life, as it always does, decided to test him. One Friday afternoon, a sudden storm hit the market. Wind, lightning, and heavy rain. Shops were closing early, and people were running for shelter. Just as Halim prepared to pull down his shutters, he noticed a teenage boy, drenched, shivering, and holding a torn carton of bread. The boy approached Halim's shop, hesitant but desperate. "Sir, please, can I wait inside until the rain stops? My mother is sick. I'm trying to sell what's left." The old Halim would have snapped. "Go somewhere else. I have no time for this." But now, he remembered the frail old man and his quiet wisdom. He paused, took a breath, then opened the door wider. "Come in. Sit down. You're soaked." The boy nodded, his teeth chattering. Halim offered him a dry towel and made him a cup of hot tea. The boy's eyes shimmered with disbelief, as if kindness was something unexpected. After a moment of silence, the boy said, "Sir, you don't know me. Why help?" Halim smiled softly. "Because someone once helped me, without needing a reason." The boy lowered his head. But then, something tragic slipped from his lips. The boy said, "My father died last year. My mother sells food by the roadside, but she's been coughing blood. I've been working after school to help her. Today, the rain ruined more than half of the bread. I only have 14 loaves left. I don't know how we'll survive tonight." Halim felt something shift inside his chest, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. The old man's words returned. "You don't need a better life, you need a better perspective." He looked at the boy, truly looked at him. Not as a nuisance, not as a distraction, but as a human being fighting battles bigger than his age. In that moment, Halim realized something profound. While he spent years complaining about small inconveniences, others were struggling just to survive the day. Halim stood up and picked up one loaf from the boy's carton. "How much is this?" he asked. 200 naira, sir," the boy whispered. "Good," Halim replied. "I'll take all 14. The boy's mouth fell open. He shook his head as if he didn't hear correctly. "Sir, all 14? But the bread is wet, some are bent. I don't want to cheat you." Halim touched his shoulder gently. "You're not cheating me. You're allowing me to help." Tears welled up in the boy's eyes. For a moment, he tried to speak, but no words came. He simply pressed his forehead to the back of his hand, a silent gesture of gratitude learned too young. Halim paid him full price, plus something extra. "Take this to your mother," he said, "and tell her a stranger is praying for her healing." The boy broke down, sobbing quietly. "Sir, may God bless you. Nobody has ever been this kind." That night, as Halim sat in his empty shop with the leftover bread on the counter, he realized. Helping the boy didn't make him poorer. It made him richer inside. For the first time in decades, he felt something warm in his chest. Not pride, not relief, but purpose. The old man's wisdom echoed again. The world reflects what you give to it. And for the first time, the world reflected kindness back. Several days passed, and Halim continued growing into a kinder, calmer version of himself. Customers noticed. Neighbors noticed. Even his wife, Amina, noticed he complained less and listened more. But something bothered him. Every evening he would check the small bench outside his shop, the bench where the old thin man once sat. But the bench remained empty. No familiar smile. No gentle voice. No warm wisdom wrapped in simple words. Halim began to worry. One evening, unable to hold back, he went to the small kiosk area where he first met the old man, but the woman selling fruits looked at him strangely. "Old man?" she repeated. "What old man? I've been here for 6 years. Nobody sits on that bench." Halim frowned. He was sure. He remembered the voice, the handshake, the conversation. "You must have seen him," Halim insisted. "He carries a small bag, wears a gray cap." Before he finished, the fruit seller shook her head again. "Sir, nobody sits there. That bench has been empty for months." A cold shiver ran down Halim's spine. The next morning, as Halim approached his shop, something caught his eye. A small brown envelope sat on the same wooden bench. His name was written on it. Halim. No address. No stamp. No footprints around the bench. Just the envelope. Hands trembling, he opened it. Inside was a folded note, written in the same calm handwriting he remembered. "When a heart changes, a destiny changes. You were trapped in complaints, not because life was hard, but because you forgot how blessed you were. Do not return to the man you once were. Someone needs the man you are becoming." Below the message was something even more shocking. A list of names. People he had recently helped. The teenage boy selling bread. A widow he gave a free pack of groceries. A struggling student he allowed to pay later. A neighbor whose wheelbarrow he repaired last week. Halim gasped. How did he know all this? He turned the note over, and on the back was one final line. I see the world through the hearts of those who try to make it better. Tears filled his eyes. This wasn't just a stranger. This was someone who had been watching him, guiding him, lifting him without asking for anything in return. Someone whose presence wasn't ordinary. As Halim sat frozen on the bench, the teenage boy approached. The same boy he helped during the storm. His face looked brighter, hopeful. Sir, he said with excitement, my mother is better. The hospital did some tests and the doctors said the early treatment saved her. That money you gave us, it made everything possible. Warm tears blurred Halim's vision. The boy continued, I want to repay you one day, sir. But my mother said, blessings will find the person who helps others silently. Halim swallowed hard. Silently, just like the old man had helped him. He hugged the boy, something he never would have done before, and said, take care of your mother. And when you grow up, help someone else the way I helped you. The boy nodded. Yes, sir. I will. Then he paused. Sir, the elderly man who always sits here, he told me to check on you today. Halim's heart stopped. You saw him? Yes, sir. But when I looked again, the boy pointed to the bench. He wasn't there anymore. That night, as Halim walked home under the soft glow of streetlights, something deep inside him shifted forever. He finally understood. The old man wasn't a stranger. He was a messenger, a reminder, a wake-up call from life itself, sent to pull him out of the darkness of complaints, into the light of purpose. From that day forward, Halim made a vow. I will complain less. I will appreciate more. I will help silently. And I will let my kindness echo where my voice cannot. And slowly, beautifully, Halim became known across the market for something new. Not the man who always complained, but the man who always cared. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to get more stories each time it's being uploaded.